My wife's topless photo for another guy ruined my marriage. I'm not really sure how to start this, so I guess I'll just rip off the band-aid. My name's Ethan, I'm 36, and until 2 months ago, I thought I was the luckiest man alive. I had what I thought was a beautiful marriage to my wife, Madison, 34. We'd been together since college. She was the loud, magnetic one in every room. I was the quiet guy who made her laugh when no one else could. We built a life that, from the outside, looked like a Pinterest board: cozy suburban home, BBQs with neighbors, yearly trips to Florida, and a golden retriever named Milo who, frankly, I loved more than most people. My parents adored her. My sister Jenna called her bonus sister, and my younger brother Nate joked she was too hot for me. I took it as a compliment. Looking back, there were cracks. I just didn't want to see them. She started staying late at work, project deadlines, and happy hour with the girls. She became glued to her phone, turning it over whenever I walked into the room. She started dressing differently. Lace bras I'd never seen before. Stockings. Even wearing makeup around the house on Saturdays. Just for fun. I chalked it up to her wanting to feel confident. Madison always had that kind of restless energy, and I didn't want to be the insecure husband who questioned every little thing. But here's the thing, I was insecure. I just buried it deep, under years of, "She loves you, Ethan. Don't be paranoid." I told myself that a man who questions his wife is already halfway to losing her. I didn't know it at the time, but I'd already lost her years ago. I just hadn't caught up to the truth yet. It happened on a Thursday night, one of those evenings where the air feels heavy for no reason. Madison was at a networking dinner, which, in my head, translated to overpriced cocktails with her marketing coworkers while I reheated leftover pizza and watched ESPN with Milo. I was half asleep on the couch when her iPad, the one we both use for Netflix, lit up on the coffee table. A notification popped up from an app one didn't recognize. It looked like a messaging icon but with a weird flame logo. Curiosity beat hesitation, and I tapped it. What opened next? My stomach still knots just thinking about it. The first image was her in our bedroom, wearing black lace lingerie I'd never seen before, arching her back on our bed. Her lips were parted in that fake, sultry way she'd never done for me in years. Another photo, topless, her hair messy, holding the phone high like some amateur boudoir shoot. And then a video, short, shaky, but enough to make my vision tunnel. Her voice, low and playful. "You're gonna get the real Madison tonight, babe." The babe wasn't me. I kept scrolling, different settings, a hotel bathroom mirror, the front seat of a car at night, even our damn laundry room with her shirt pushed up, bra dangling from one arm. And threaded between the photos were messages dripping with innuendo and that fake, giggly charm she hadn't shown me since before we were married. The guy's name? Trent Kissmark. I didn't know any Trent. The messages made it pretty clear I didn't want to know him, either. I just sat there in the dim light of the living room, Milo's head on my knee, reading every word like I was studying for an exam I never wanted to take. By the time I heard Madison's car pull into the driveway, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely lock the iPad. And here's the thing, I wasn't ready to confront her yet. Not because I was calm, but because part of me needed to know everything before I made my move. She walked through the door like she just stepped off a rom-com set, hair tousled from the wind, red lipstick still perfect, heels clicking against the hardwood. She dropped her purse on the counter and gave me that quick, distracted smile, the one she used when she was already thinking about something else. "Hey, babe. You're up late," she said, grabbing a bottle of water from the fridge like nothing was wrong. I just stared at her. "Who's Trent?" Her hand froze mid-twist on the bottle cap. "What?" "Don't play dumb. The iPad lit up while you were gone. Pictures. Videos. Messages. Who is Trent?" She blinked a few times, like she was running through possible lies in her head. Then came the laugh, that short, scoffing laugh she used when she wanted to make me feel ridiculous. Oh my god, Ethan, are you seriously snooping through my stuff? Trent is just someone from work. We joke around. It's harmless. Harmless? My voice cracked. You sent him topless photos. In our bedroom. How the hell is that harmless? Her face hardened instantly, like she'd switched masks. You're overreacting. We've been in a rut, Ethan. You barely touch me anymore. I needed to feel wanted. That one hit like a sucker punch. So your solution was to, what, play porn star for some guy you barely know? She rolled her eyes. Barely know? We've been working together for 2 years. He actually listens to me. He compliments me. You're always buried in work, or hanging out with your brother. That's when it clicked. This wasn't guilt I was looking at. This was contempt. She wasn't sorry, she was just pissed she got caught. And instead of answering my questions, she started throwing in little jabs. Maybe if you went to the gym more, you've gotten boring, you never make me feel sexy anymore. Each one like a little acid drip onto my skin. It stopped being a confrontation and turned into her trying to convince me that I was the problem. That was the first moment I realized Madison wasn't just cheating on me, she'd been rewriting our entire marriage in her head to justify it. That night I didn't sleep. Madison stormed off to the guest room after throwing a final, "You're pathetic when you're jealous," over her shoulder. I lay in our bed staring at the ceiling, my chest so tight it felt like someone had parked a truck on it. I kept replaying her words. Boring. Out of shape. Doesn't make me feel sexy. It's funny, I've always been the kind of guy who believes in fixing things. Car breaks down? I'll figure it out. Pipes burst? I'll YouTube it. But this? This wasn't a broken faucet. This was my wife looking me in the eye and telling me I wasn't enough. And the worst part? A small, ugly part of me believed her. The next morning, I couldn't eat. Coffee tasted like ash. I went to work but barely remember anything except staring at my computer screen while my coworker, Jason, asked me 3 times if I was good, man. I wasn't. I felt like my skin didn't fit right. And it wasn't just the betrayal, it was the humiliation. Knowing she'd been half naked for another man, sending him the kind of pictures she hadn't sent me since the early years. I thought about Trent seeing her smile like that, knowing it was meant for him, and I swear I almost threw up in the office bathroom. I didn't tell my family right away. My mom, Diane, has always been protective of me, and I knew she'd show up at our door ready to tear Madison apart. My dad, Mark, is the keep it in the family type, the guy who thinks marriage is sacred no matter what. And Jenna? She'd already never liked Madison, she called her Madison the man-eater, after one too many sharp comments at Thanksgiving. But the silence was its own prison. It was like carrying a live wire in my chest that kept shocking me every time I thought I was calm. Every text from Madison during the day was short, almost bored, like she was already half gone. I started wondering if maybe she had been right. Maybe I had let myself go. Maybe I was boring. Maybe Trent was just the better man. That's the part of cheating no one talks about. It's not just the betrayal, it's the way it warps your own reflection until you can't stand to look in the mirror. And still, I didn't make any decisions. Not yet. I was in that ugly space between heartbreak and rage, where you're too numb to act but too raw to heal. It happened on a Sunday morning, 2 weeks after I found the photos. Madison was in the kitchen making herself avocado toast like she didn't have a care in the world. She was humming, some pop song while scrolling on her phone. I was pouring coffee when her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it, smirked, and flipped it over. I don't know what made me do it, maybe the smirk, maybe the fact that I hadn't slept in days, but I grabbed the phone before she could. She lunged for it, but I'd already unlocked it. Her passcode was still our anniversary date, the irony. And there it was, a string of messages from Trent. Pictures. Not just her now, him too. Shirtless in a hotel bed, his arm obviously around someone out of frame, but I didn't need a forensic team to figure out who. Her last message read, Last night was perfect. Can't stop thinking about your hands on me. My stomach flipped. Last night? I said, my voice louder than I meant. You told me you were having wine with your mom. She crossed her arms and actually rolled her eyes. Oh my God, Ethan! Do you hear yourself? You're stalking my phone now? This is pathetic. I slammed the phone down so hard Milo ran out of the room. You lied. Again. To my face. You slept with him last night. She shrugged. Shrugged. It's not like you've been making me happy. I felt something in me snap, the part of me that had been clinging to the idea that maybe this was just emotional cheating, maybe it hadn't gone all the way. Maybe there was still something left to save. That illusion died right there, between the toast crumbs on the counter and her bored expression. You're unbelievable, I said. No, Ethan. You're unbelievable. You've been coasting for years. You're predictable. And Trent, she smiled, makes me feel alive. That was it. I grabbed my keys, my wallet, and walked out. No plan, no destination, just the certainty that if I stayed another second, I'd say something I couldn't take back. I drove aimlessly for hours, ended up at my sister Jenna's place. When I told her, she didn't even look surprised. She just hugged me and said, "You've been putting her on a pedestal so high you didn't notice she was kicking you in the teeth." That was the first time I thought about divorce. Not seriously yet, but the seed was planted. And once it's planted, it grows fast. 2 days after the blow-up at Jenna's, Madison texted me. "We need to talk." I'd been crashing at my sister's spare room, alternating between rage spirals and staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. So when Madison said, "Talk," I thought maybe she was ready to apologize, maybe we'd finally get some clarity. I walked into our house and immediately noticed, no makeup, hair in a messy bun, sweatpants. Madison looked normal. Disarming, almost. We sat at the kitchen table like strangers meeting to sign a contract. She didn't waste time. "I'm not in love with you anymore." The words landed like a sucker punch. "Since when?" I asked, my voice thin. "Honestly? Years. I've just been keeping the peace. I didn't want to hurt you." I almost laughed. "Keeping the peace? You've been screwing Trent for months." "That's not peace, Madison. That's war." She leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. "You act like I woke up one day and decided to blow up our marriage. You've been emotionally checked out for years. You're predictable, Ethan." I needed passion. Excitement. Trent gives me that. It was the way she said it, not with guilt, but like she was proud of herself. Like cheating was some self-care ritual. "So what?" "I'm just boring old Ethan, the guy who pays the mortgage and takes care of the dog." She tilted her head. "Pretty much. That was it. That was the moment I knew there was no fixing this. I wasn't looking at the woman I married. I was looking at someone who had rewritten the last decade to make herself the hero of her own affair." I stood up, grabbed my jacket. "You can keep the house. I don't care. I'm done." Madison didn't cry. Didn't beg. Didn't even try to stop me. She just said, "Good luck finding someone who can put up with you." It was cruel. It was calculated. And it made one thing crystal clear. She'd been gone a long time before Trent ever showed up. The first week after I left felt like falling down an elevator shaft in slow motion. Jenna's spare room became my world, blinds half closed, the smell of takeout boxes piling up, Milo curled next to me like he knew I was barely hanging on. I couldn't focus at work. I'd be in the middle of an email and suddenly picture Madison in our bed with Trent, her hair fanned out on my pillow, that smile she used to save for me curling at the corner of her lips. My stomach would drop so fast I'd have to sit there gripping the desk until it passed. Nights were worse. Sleep was a coin toss. Either I'd get an hour before jolting awake, heart pounding, or I'd stay up until dawn replaying every moment in our marriage, trying to figure out when she started turning into a stranger. Then came the humiliation. People started finding out. First my mom, Jenna told her because she was worried about me. Mom cried over the phone, saying she never trusted Madison, that she always saw a coldness in her eyes. Dad, of course, told me to keep it private, that airing dirty laundry would only make it worse. But I couldn't help imagining what Madison was telling people. The idea of her spinning the story, me as the neglectful husband, Trent as the hero who rescued her, lit a fire in me I hadn't felt before. It was a different kind of pain now. Less sadness, more acid. I started avoiding mutual friends, but I could see the pity in their eyes when I ran into them at the store. And the whispers? I knew Madison was flaunting her new passion with Trent. Posting pictures of cocktails with captions like, "Finally living." I mean, she wasn't tagging him, but I wasn't stupid. I started questioning myself hard. Was I really that bad of a husband? Or had I just been living with someone so selfish that no amount of love could ever be enough? The answer didn't come right away. But the anger did. And with it, the first thoughts of making her regret every smug word she'd thrown at me. The divorce moved faster than I expected, probably because Madison wanted it done. No long, drawn-out fights over furniture or bank accounts. She got the house, the car, most of the savings. I told my lawyer to just make it quick. People thought I was crazy for walking away from everything. My dad flat out told me I was letting her win. But I didn't care about the stuff. Every chair, every plate, every blanket in that house was poisoned with memories of her smirk while telling me I wasn't enough. I didn't want to sit at our kitchen table and wonder if she'd ever been texting him across from me. So I erased myself from that life entirely. Left her the shell of the marriage and walked away with nothing but my clothes, Milo, and my dignity, what little was left of it. But here's the thing, I wasn't just running. I was resetting. Madison thought she'd humiliated me into disappearing quietly. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized. I knew her better than anyone. I knew the cracks in her armor, the insecurities she kept buried under all that confidence. And if she wanted to play the finally living role for the world, all it would take was one well-placed nudge to make that facade crumble. I didn't go nuclear right away. I played it smart, quiet, distant, the good guy, who just wanted peace. She dropped her guard, thinking I was licking my wounds in silence. Meanwhile, I started talking to a few mutual acquaintances. Not trash-talking her outright, just planting little truths, about how long she'd been cheating, about how she'd lied to her own family, about the mess she left behind. You'd be surprised how fast gossip moves when it's just concern, from a heartbroken ex-husband. By the time the papers were signed, she'd gotten wind that Trent might not be the faithful knight in shining armor she'd built him up to be. And honestly, that was just the appetizer. I didn't want some messy, dramatic revenge. That's not my style. I wanted slow burn, under-the-radar sabotage, the kind that made her wonder if her perfect little world was falling apart on its own. Trent was easy to read. I'd never met the guy in person, but I knew his type from a mile away, the cocky, "I can do better" dude who thrives on attention. So I started dropping a few breadcrumbs with people I knew he hung around. Just enough hints that Madison was complicated, and not as free as she's acting. I also knew Madison's weakness. She lives for validation. It's like oxygen to her. So I made sure some of our old mutual friends, the ones she used to show off to, heard about how fast she'd moved on, and how she'd been involved with Trent long before the split. I didn't even need to embellish. The timeline spoke for itself. A few weeks later, Jenna sent me a screenshot from Madison's Instagram. No more couple shots with Trent. No cryptic love quotes. Just solo selfies with captions like, "Focusing on me." Translation: Trouble in Paradise. But the best part? I didn't have to lift a finger for the finale. One night, I got a text from Nate, my younger brother, who still follows Madison on everything. "Dude, you're not gonna believe this. She posted an Insta story of herself crying, then deleted it." Turns out, Trent had been seeing someone else on the side. Madison had been cheated on by her rebound. And from what I heard, The new girl wasn't subtle about it. It was poetic in a way. She'd burned down our marriage for passion, only to get torched herself. And for the first time in months, I slept like a baby. After I heard about Trent's side piece, I didn't gloat. Didn't text her. Didn't post some vague "karma's a bitch" meme. I went completely silent. And silence drove Madison insane. I blocked her on everything: social media, phone, even email. She tried reaching out through mutual friends at first, little "tell Ethan I need to talk" messages. I ignored them all. If she wanted closure, she could find it in Trent's arms, or whoever was next in line. I focused on disappearing from her narrative entirely. I stopped going to the places we used to frequent. Switched gyms. Found a new barber. The few mutual friends I still spoke to, I kept conversations short and cheerful, never mentioning her name. From the outside, I guess it looked like I'd just moved on. Which was exactly the point. Madison feeds on being the center of someone's emotional world, love, hate, obsession. It doesn't matter as long as she's the focus. But I wasn't giving her that anymore. The funny thing is, the less I thought about her, the more I started thinking about myself. I joined a hiking group, started running again, dropped 15 pounds. My sister talked me into getting a decent wardrobe, and yeah, it felt damn good walking into a room and catching someone's eye again. Meanwhile, little updates would trickle in without me even asking. A friend of a friend mentioned Madison's been really going through it, posting breakup quotes at 2 a.m. Another said she's been hitting the bars hard, sometimes showing up at work looking rough. I didn't feel sorry for her. I didn't feel anything for her. And that's when I knew I was winning. Not because she was losing, but because she finally had no power over me at all. It happened on a Saturday morning in late spring. I'd signed up for a local 10K on a whim, partly to push myself, partly to prove I could still set a goal and crush it. I showed up in my new running gear, feeling stronger than I had in years. Halfway through the race, I spotted a little cheering section. My sister Jenna was there with a homemade sign that said, "Run like you're leaving Madison," which made me laugh mid-stride. But there was also this woman next to her, tall, athletic, big smile. When I crossed the finish line, she walked right up, handed me a bottle of water, and said, "You smoked the last 2 miles. I was chasing your pace the whole time." Her name was Lauren. And for the first time since my marriage imploded, I felt that little flicker, that hey, maybe I still got it spark. We chatted for a while, swapped numbers. No pressure, no drama. Just two people who happened to meet while doing something they enjoyed. I realized how different it felt. No constant overthinking, no wondering if she was playing games. Just easy. That night, I caught myself smiling for no reason while making dinner. Not because I thought Lauren was the one, but because I felt alive. Like I wasn't just some guy defined by what his ex-wife did to him. Even Milo seemed to notice. He sat by my feet while I cooked, tail wagging like he could sense the shift. It wasn't about replacing Madison. It was about reclaiming the version of me she'd spent years chipping away at. The guy who laughed easily, who took care of himself, who didn't need anyone's approval to feel whole. And for the first time in a long time, I started looking forward instead of back. Once that spark lit, I didn't want to let it burn out. I threw myself into rebuilding like it was my full-time job. First thing, I joined a better gym. Not just to get in shape, but to push myself. Heavy lifting, boxing classes, even yoga, which, by the way, is a lot harder than it looks. Within a couple of months, the changes were obvious: stronger, leaner, more energy than I'd had in years. Then came the style overhaul. Jenna dragged me to a few stores and made me try on clothes I wouldn't have even glanced at before. Fitted shirts, decent jeans, a jacket that actually made me look like I had shoulders. I didn't realize how much I'd let myself fade into the background until I caught my own reflection in a shop window and thought, damn, that's me? Work was next. I stopped coasting and actually went after projects I wanted. Within 3 months, I'd landed a promotion I'd been quietly eyeing for years but never thought I'd get. Funny how confidence snowballs. And yeah, I was seeing people again, nothing serious, just dates here and there. It felt good to be wanted, but the real high was knowing I could walk away from anything that didn't feel right. I wasn't chasing validation anymore. Of course, word got back to Madison. I didn't hear it directly, but a mutual friend, accidentally, let it slip that she'd asked about me at a birthday party. Apparently, she'd made some snide comment like, "Oh, Ethan's having his midlife crisis early." But according to my friend, she couldn't hide the fact that it bugged her seeing me thrive. Good. Let it bug her. She'd spent years trying to convince me I wasn't enough. Now she had to watch me become more than she could handle. The biggest change wasn't the muscles, the wardrobe, or the promotion, it was the people I surrounded myself with. For years, my social circle had been a mix of my friends and Madison's. Guess which ones dominated the plans, the conversations, the dynamics? Madison's. I'd been orbiting her little solar system so long I forgot I could create my own. Now, I was building something different. The hiking group I joined turned into real friendships, people who didn't know me as Madison's husband, but as Ethan, the guy who brought extra granola bars and bad dad jokes on the trail. Lauren, the runner from the 10K, introduced me to a few of her friends, and we started a weekly trivia night at a local bar. No drama, no whispered gossip about my past, just laughter, beer, and that comfortable buzz you get from being in good company. I reconnected with my old college buddy, Derek, who'd moved back into town. He was the kind of friend who told you the truth whether you wanted to hear it or not. One night over wings, I told him about Madison's. Boring old Ethan. Jab. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "Man, if being boring means not cheating, not lying, and actually giving a damn, then sign me up. She's not your yardstick anymore." That line stuck with me. She's not your yardstick anymore. It was like a mental shift. I stopped measuring myself by what I wasn't to Madison and started focusing on what I was to the people who actually valued me. By then, I realized my life wasn't about proving her wrong anymore. It was about proving myself right. And that compass? It was finally pointing somewhere that felt like home. It came to me on an ordinary Tuesday, the kind of day that doesn't hint at anything big. I was in line at a coffee shop when my phone buzzed, a text from Jenna. "You're gonna want to hear this. Call me." When I did, she didn't even say hello. So, apparently Madison got fired. I blinked. Fired? For what? Word is she showed up late one too many times, missed a big client presentation. Rumor is she's been partying pretty hard, and it's been catching up with her. Oh, and guess who dumped her? Trent. I almost laughed out loud right there in the coffee shop. You're serious? Dead serious. And from what I hear, the new girl he's with is basically her younger clone. Karma came fast. I didn't post about it. Didn't text her. Didn't even tell anyone else. I just stood there with my Americano in hand, feeling nothing. No thrill, no gloating. Just this deep, quiet satisfaction that the universe had finished what I started. That night, after my run, I sat on the porch with Milo and watched the sun go down. For the first time in years, my life felt calm, not empty, not boring, just steady. Madison was somewhere out there, probably scrambling to rewrite the story again, but she wasn't part of mine anymore. And that was the real win, not that she'd fallen, but that I didn't need her to in order to stand tall. If you'd told me a year ago I'd be sitting here, divorced, lighter in every sense of the word, and genuinely happy, I would have laughed in your face. Back then, I thought my life was over without her. I thought I'd never recover from the way Madison made me feel small, replaceable, forgettable. But here's what I've learned: people like her don't actually win in the long run. They burn through everything, love, trust, friendships, because they feed off the high of destruction. And eventually, there's nothing left for them to take. The real victory isn't revenge, even though I won't lie, watching her perfect little world crumble was satisfying. The real win is getting to a place where her name doesn't make my chest tighten, where my reflection in the mirror doesn't come with a list of her insults attached. If you're reading this and you're where I was, shaking hands, sleepless nights, replaying every detail wondering what you did wrong, hear me. You are not defined by the person who betrayed you. You are not the sum of their lies. You are not less because they couldn't value more. Walk away if you have to. Give them everything if it buys you your peace. Let them think they won. Then rebuild so hard and so well that one day, they couldn't touch your life even if they wanted to. Because the truth is, I didn't lose Madison. I lost the version of me that needed her. And that, my friends, was the best loss I've ever had. I have many other stories. Go to my channel, subscribe so you don't lose us. Give me a thumbs up.